Hello, boys and girls. We are going to be reading Black Beauty, chapters 14 and 15 today. This is going to be a video of chapter 14, but you'll also watch the video of chapter 15 in your books if you have a version of Black Beauty that is like mine. This will begin on page 68, a chapter called James Howard, who is a character we already know. He's the man who works alongside John Manley. He's younger, but he helps with the horses as one of the grooms as well. So let's begin. I have the screen to present as usual so that you can follow along if you don't have your own version of the book. Now, early one morning in December, John had just led me into my box after my daily exercise and was strapping my cloth on, and James was coming in from the corn chamber with some oats when the master came into the stable. He looked rather serious and held an open letter in his hand. John fastened the door of my box, touched his cap, and waited for orders. "Good morning, John," said the master. "This is Squire Gordon. I want to know if you have any complaint to make of James." "Complaint, sir? No, sir." "Is he industrious at his work?" Which means, does he work well? "And is he respectful to you?" "Yes, sir, always." "You never find he slights his work when your back is turned?" "Never, sir." "That's well, but I must put another question. Have you no reason to suspect when he goes out with the horses to exercise them or to take a message that he stops about talking to his acquaintances or goes into houses where he has no business, leaving the horses outside?" Why is he asking these questions? John says, "No, sir, certainly not. And if anybody has been saying that about James, I just don't believe it. And I don't mean to believe it unless I have it fairly proved before witnesses. It's not for me to say who has been trying to take away James's character, but I will say this, sir, that a steadier, pleasanter, honester, smarter young fellow I never had in this stable. I can trust his word and I can trust his work. He is gentle and clever with the horses, and I would rather have them in charge with him than with half the young fellows I know of in laced hats and liveries. So he may not be the fanciest person, but he's much more trustworthy with the horses. And whoever wants a character of James Howard," said John with a decided jerk of his head, "let them just come to John Manley." The master stood all this time very grave, which means serious, and attentive. But as John finished his speech, a broad smile spread over this is Squire Gordon's face. And looking kindly across at James, who all this time had stood still right at the door, he said, "James, my lad, set down the oats and come over here. I am very glad to find that John's opinion of your character agrees so exactly with my very own." "Now, John is a cautious man," he said with a droll smile, "and it is not always easy to get his opinion about people. So I thought if I beat the bush on this side, the birds would fly out, and I should learn what I wanted to know quickly." That's a saying that means he's asking the question sort of in a roundabout way. He really wants to know, is James a good person? And he did it in a tricky way by acting as if somebody said bad things about James. "So now we will come to business. I have a letter from my brother-in-law, Sir Clifford Williams of Clifford Hall. He wants me to find him a trustworthy young groom, about 20 or 21, who knows his business. His old coachman, who has lived with him for 30 years, is getting quite feeble. That means he's getting old and kind of sickly. He can't move as well. And he wants a man to work with him and get into his ways, who would be able, when the old man was pensioned off, to step into his place." That's kind of what James is doing with John. He's helping out, watching John work, and he eventually would be able to take over. He would have 18 shillings a week at first, a stable suit, a driving suit, a bedroom over the coach house, and a boy under him. So just like John has James working for him, James would have a young boy who's helping him. Now, Sir Clifford is a good master, and if you could get the place, it would be a good start for you. I don't want to part with you, and if you left us, I know John would lose his right hand. That I should, sir, said John. He would miss the help very much, but I would not stand in his light for the world. That's good of John to think, this is an opportunity for James. He should take it. How old are you, James? Said Master. 19 next May, sir. Well, that's young. What do you think, John? Well, sir, it is young, but he is as steady as a man and is strong and well-grown, and though he has not had much experience in driving, he has a light, firm hand and a quick eye, and he is very careful. And I'm quite sure no horse of his will be ruined for want of having his feet and shoes looked after. Well, your word will go the furthest, John, said the master. For Sir Clifford adds in a postscript, which is like a PS at the bottom, if I could find a man trained by your John, I should like him better than any other. Those are high words of praise. So James, lad, think it over, talk to your mother at dinner time, and then let me know what you wish. In a few days after this conversation, it was fully settled that James should go to Clifford Hall. He's going to get a new job in a month or 6 weeks, as it suited his master. And in the meantime, he was to get all the practice in driving that could be given to him. I never knew the carriage to go out so often before. When the mistress did not go out, the master drove himself in the two-wheeled chaise. But now, whether it was master or the young ladies, or only an errand, Ginger and I were put in the carriage and James drove us, getting lots of practice. At the first, John rode with him on the box, telling him this and that. And after that, James drove alone. Then it was wonderful what a number of places the master would go to in the city on Saturday, and what queer streets we were driven through. He was sure to go to the railway station just as the train was coming in, and cabs and carriages, carts and omnibuses were all trying to get over the bridge together. That bridge wanted good horses and good drivers when the railway bell was ringing, for it was very narrow, and there was a very sharp turn up to the station, where it would not have been at all difficult for people to run into each other if they did not look sharp and keep their wits about them. So, do you think that James will be a good fit at Clifford Hall? I think that he would make a wonderful groom at that place. He is already showing himself to be a fast learner and to work very well with these horses and be a good driver. So that is chapter 14. You'll also watch today chapter 15 about the old ostler, and we'll talk about what that is. And hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.